Hi, everyone, and welcome tonight to the Healer's Journey free webinar learning series. And tonight, I have the title here is Darkness, and online I posted it as Into Darkness, which sounds a little bit more like a Star Trek movie, and that was not my intention at all. But darkness was a topic that came up this weekend. And I was channeling some information about darkness before we were heading off to our Illumination Reiki classes that we held just this past weekend. And it felt really important to, in the attunement meditation, to go into the darkness, that the darkness was where we were going to find some of our answers and get some preparation for the attunement and preparation for the work that we were doing for Illumination Reiki. And I thought, how is it? What do people feel about darkness? And so I thought it would make a good topic for tonight. Let's go ahead and get started on that. You know me, I'm Rosemary, and this is my dog Gracie. She works with me, and she, by the way, is quite comfortable in the darkness. She doesn't have any problem with darkness. The thing she has problem with is noise, artificial noise, like fireworks. Thunder, not so much, but synthetic noise. So darkness, not a problem for her, and not so much a problem for me these days, but it wasn't always so. So as always, we talk about our intentions, we proclaim our intentions and our power. And just to let you know that we are sovereign beings. We proclaim that we are whole, vibrant beings in physical form and maintain sovereignty to nourish, support, and empower our lives with divine gifts and a natural ability to heal. And this, I only read part of it. I hope you go online and read that or copy it somehow and hold that as your truth as well. It feels important to proclaim your power instead of disclaim something. We don't like disclaimers. We don't like saying, okay, we're going to give you all the power by disclaiming that we don't do anything. No, we're doing something. We're working on ourselves, and that's what we can do. So let's move on here. What is darkness? Now, we have different ideas about what darkness is. We have an intellectual perspective on darkness. We can think about it. We have feelings about darkness, certainly. And then there are some spiritual meanings or connotations about what darkness is. So let's explore these just a little bit. There's intellectual darkness. Now, in intellectual darkness, what I mean is, what are you seeing? It's a visual thing usually, because in the dark you're not seeing any light. There's a lack of light or even a lack of color. And of course color is a reflection of light that is there. And in darkness there is no light, so there's no color that you can see. It also depends on the time of day. At night it tends to be dark, and yet, of course, in today's world, our night is full of light pollution, isn't it? It's really hard to find really dark, deep darkness in the night time now, because we have so many street lights and house lights and car lights. It's hard to find deep darkness. There is also darkness hidden in depth, like the depth of the ocean or the depth of a cave or even the depth of the night sky. The farther out you go, the darker it seems to be. Of course, if you're asleep and your eyes are closed, you feel like you're in darkness. And then there's the visual aspect of something that is opaque. You put something opaque over your windows, and it will not allow light through. So those are visual representations of darkness. Now, the opposite, let's just mention that the opposite of darkness then would be bright, would be daytime, and that there'd be openness and clarity. You'd be awake perhaps, and maybe looking through something that is transparent, something thin enough that you could see light coming through. There's also an emotional aspect of darkness. And here's where we get into how we feel about darkness. It might be a heaviness, for example. And people might feel a depression if there's not enough light. In fact, I was reading in the paper today that Portland is listed as number 3 for the most depressed winter in the United States. Anchorage being number 1, Seattle number 2, Portland a close third to Seattle. Well, this winter especially, I think, has been a little bit more, a little darker, because we have had more weather, right? More clouds, more rain, more snow. And so depression, feeling that seasonal affective disorder is a real thing for a lot of people. People associate darkness with fear as well. There is a fear of darkness because perhaps there's something unknown there, something you can't see, and because we're very visual people, if you can't see it and you don't know it's there, then oh gosh, maybe you should be afraid of it, right? We can rely on television to feed that fear of what's in the darkness that can harm us in some way. Anger is also a kind of darkness that can come over people. And the opposite, of course, is lighthearted, happiness, confident, intuitive, and peaceful. And I'd like to focus on the opposite part here just for a moment and combine it with what we already know about the visual aspect, the intellectual aspect of darkness. When there's something, I know this is something that parents say to their kids, right? When kids are afraid of the dark, whatever reason it is that they are afraid of the dark, parents have the job then of proving to their kids that, oh, well, whatever is there in the light is still there in the darkness, and the darkness doesn't change anything. Here, let me turn off the light. See, okay, it's dark, it's safe, there's nothing changed. Okay, quickly, we'll turn the light on. Okay, no problem, nothing's changed, right? So the components of what is there or what is not there, just because we can see it or not see it, it doesn't change anything except how we feel about it. And so when we incorporate the feeling of peace and confidence and happiness and feeling lighthearted, when we change how we feel about darkness, then perhaps some of those other things can change too. I know I'm being very obtuse here. I'm being very vague. It's a big topic. People have written books about this and philosophized about it for a long time. In fact, I have some quotes for you at the end of the webinar. But the point in bringing up the topic is always in relation to the healer's journey. What is it about darkness that we as illuminated healers want to consider? Not only for ourselves, but for the people we are working with, or the people in our lives. Because as illuminated healers, we have to be the best we can be. We have to work on ourselves first, right? That was one of the very first lessons. We work on ourselves. We do self-healing. And yet, there are things going on in our lives, maybe past, maybe karma, maybe experiences that we've forgotten or buried somewhere in the darkness that does affect us. It does affect how we think, how we talk, how we do our work, and our work with our healing abilities and our tools. So the spiritual aspect of darkness, and I had some fun poking around online for other people's views on this as well. But the spiritual aspect of darkness has this deep connotation of sin, right? Sin. In other words, breaking the rules. Rules against humanity, rules against God, and feeling lost. There's a component of evil being in the darkness, and feeling like you can't find your way. And then of course, darkness, spiritual darkness, might also mean that there is no belief in spirituality of any kind. So without belief, somebody who is very religious might use the words, "Are you saved?" I had a client ask me that one time, a gal on the other side of the country in a very religious part of the country, and she said to me one day, "Rosemary, are you saved?" and I thought about that, and I didn't quite know how to answer her, because she, of course, was meaning, did I accept Jesus Christ as my Savior? And I said, well, I work with Jesus. He shows up in my work. I work with him all the time. Why would I not accept him in part of my work and what I do? I think working with him is great. Working with God is great. Working with Archangel Michael is great. Working with Snake is great. I didn't tell her that one. But I work with the spirit that is in all things. And so when you begin to look at how everything has life in it, the obvious, plants, animals, and the not so obvious to people who have been trained that there isn't life in crystals, or there isn't light, those are dead things, or not even dead, those are inanimate, those are not living in any way, and there's no spirit in them, there's no life in them. But we're all made of the same thing, aren't we? In science classes, in biology class, we have carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen, right? We can go down the list of elements that are found in all living things. CHON. Of course, there's sulfur, phosphorus, potassium, calcium, magnesium. All the minerals and all the elements that are present in all living things. Well, that's all present on Earth too, because that's what we're made of. And so, what about the topsoil? What about my quartz crystal? What about put it anywhere, the ocean? What about water, hydrogen and oxygen? Okay, that's from the earth, and we're made of hydrogen and oxygen. So why couldn't hydrogen and oxygen have some piece of life in it too? Why couldn't it embody some kind of spiritual energy? Why couldn't it? They haven't proven that it hasn't. They just can't prove that it's the same as humans, or the same as dogs, or the same as maple trees. It's not the same, but it doesn't mean it's not alive in some way. So I'm not here to convince you about life or death. I just want to talk about darkness. And in darkness, because some people believe that darkness is evil, in darkness you are lost, in darkness you have sinned, or you hold sin, and maybe even in darkness you have no spiritual belief, well, those are really powerful beliefs. Those are powerful associations with darkness. And we've been taught those things. Everybody's been taught those things in some way. Even if nobody sat us down and said, okay, if it's dark, this is sin. Even if somebody didn't sit you down with a manual or a lesson and say that, they taught you this in other ways. They taught you by their own beliefs and their own actions and their own words. And so we have to have a filter up that allows us to make our own decisions. And that's what really this is all about, is how do we come into knowing who we really are? How do we figure out that we are separate from our parents, that we are separate from our relatives, that we are separate from other people and animals and plants, and yet we're the same? How do we figure out how we can be individual and have filters and uh, and live a life of fullness and grow in our spirituality? Well, it's going to have to come down to exploring the parts where people don't usually want to go. And where do we not want to go? In the darkness. We don't want to go into the darkness. We're afraid of it. We're afraid of what we might find. We are afraid of what we might discover about who we are. But there is value in darkness. Let's think a moment about why we have darkness. We have dark seasons. We have dark times of year, dark times of day. Okay, it's part of the wholeness of the rotation of the earth around the sun and the spinning of the earth on its axis. The light and the dark have to be together, and there has to be contrast in order for us to see light. We have to also see dark. In order for us to experience enlightenment, we have to go into the darkness. And so the value of darkness then is quiet, solitude, peace, a place for meditation, and a connection to inner self. It is also a connection to the divine, because the divine is everywhere. Why wouldn't the divine also be in darkness? The darkness is a place for rebirth, and actually birth too, right? A baby is in the dark until it is born. Darkness is a place for releasing things, letting go. It's also a place for finding, retrieving parts of us that we have lost. Darkness is a place where we can face ourselves and discover who we really are. And that scares the heck out of a lot of people, because they're not grounded. They're not going in feeling safe. They're not going in with a guide. And we can change all that. As healers, we can request a little help. We can say, I would like to go into the darkness. I would like to enter that cave. I would like to explore in the darkness how it feels to be dark, to be alone, to have quiet, to feel peace, and still be who I am, and still be whole. And then, if at all possible, when I'm in this darkness, I would like to feel like I can let go of some of the things that I've been holding on to. I'd like to be able to let go of those. And I would love to see in the darkness, I would love to see what kind of illumination there is. What would be revealed to me intuitively that I couldn't see unless I went into the darkness. It's very, very powerful, and it's kind of hard for me to explain in a short webinar, but I hope you're getting the gist of this. It's a place where people don't usually want to go. It's scary. For some people, it's really scary. And like I said earlier, it used to be kind of scary for me. I remember when I was young, especially. Well, when I was very young, I lost somebody very dear to me. And it was difficult for me to be in the darkness, because that was where dead people went. That's where the souls went. You see how I made that association, right? It was terrible. I didn't like that. And yet, growing spiritually, maturing, and doing the work that I do, I find that, wow, darkness is now my friend. Darkness is my ally because I know how to be in it now. I would not suggest going into darkness until you feel safe. So this is the caveat to all of this. I am not sending anybody willy-nilly into the darkness. Don't go physically out to the darkness where you could be, putting yourself in physical harm. I would suggest that you find a safe and comfortable space where you can sit quietly in darkness, or even if the lights are on, it won't matter. The darkness that you're going into is in your mind. And slowing your breathing, feeling meditative, and this is a good opportunity for you to enhance your meditation practice, to go into darkness feeling safe, knowing you are safe, knowing that you are grounded. In fact, why don't you bring a rock with you, right? Get some hematite or a nice boulder or some kind of a dark stone, some tourmaline, or even carnelian is nice, ruby, garnet, something that would help support your root chakra and help you feel safe and help you feel grounded. And in your quiet meditation, even bring a guide with you if you want, or put on your little cloak of invisibility if you want. Whatever tools you need, bring them with you in your meditative practice, and go ahead and step into the darkness. What you might discover is that you have an aspect of yourself that is comfortable in the dark. You might find that you're not walking on solid ground, and yet you feel perfectly safe. You might see a cliff in front of you in your mind and feel like, oh, not a problem, I'm flying anyway. You might find in that darkness that you are the light, that you, because of your inner light, you light it up. You're the source. You carry the source within you. So I would be interested to know about your experience with darkness. It's fascinating, and it does require a little bit of preparation. It does require that you trust yourself. It does require that you trust who you are and that you feel safe. Those really do matter. And be willing and open to accept what comes your way as truth. You might uncover fears that you forgot about. And know that because you are safe, because you did the work in advance, and that you are grounded and you are safe and you are breathing, that if you encounter a fear, you can say, oh, all right, and you just observe it from where you are now. You observe it, and in observing it, you say, okay, this came to light. This came to my attention. So this might be something for me to reflect on, or think about again, or write about, or meditate with again. Or it might be another memory has come up, something joyful, a person comes to mind, somebody appears in front of you in your meditation. Those are all incredible experiences that can be had in the darkness, because that's where we have to go in order to do some of the deepest work. I'm not saying go ahead and jump in and do the deep work. We're not talking Akashic Records, soul retrieval, and, all those things. Not yet, no. You need some basic skills there for that first. But, be willing to just notice what you notice. Be willing to step into darkness and feel what you feel, notice what you notice. Some quotes for you. The first one is from Anne Frank. Look at how a single candle can both defy and define the darkness. I love that one. A single candle can both defy and define the darkness. Of course, someone like Anne Frank had to be in darkness for a long time, didn't she?
Mm-hmm.
A certain kind of darkness, living in hiding. There was some, of course, it was for protection, and we all know the story of Anne Frank, but her perception about that, how a single candle can both defy and define the darkness. I would like to say that we can be the candle. We can defy darkness, and yet we can define the edge of it too by being the light that we are. I can't pretend to pronounce the name of the next person for that quote. Do not let your difficulties fill you with anxiety. After all, it is only in the darkest nights that stars shine more brightly. I would love to find some good dark nights and see those night stars. But all those things that are in the night sky that we can't see are there. And we can meditate with those as well. We can see them in our meditations. And the final quote, there is darkness inside all of us, but truly, the darkness is simply a piece of the whole, neither good nor evil, unless you make it so. And with that, I would like to encourage you to hold some light in your hands. So if you hold your palms out in front of you, so that your hands are touching, you're making a bowl with your hands. Just envision for a moment that you are holding a ball of light. You might begin to feel what that feels like to hold a ball of light. Now bring that light right up to your heart and put your palms over your heart and bring that light right inside you. And feel that light grow inside you. And intend for that light to stay bright inside you. So no matter how dark it is out there, you have light inside you. And where did you get it? You asked for it. You held your hands out. You asked for it. You intended for that ball of light to be there in your hands, and you put it in your heart. And just as easily as that, you can shine your light. You can be the illuminated healer. The Illumination Reiki website is live. Yay. Coming little bit by bit. We're still commissioning a logo that will be our own. People are saying about the Illumination Reiki class that we had last weekend, very enlightening experience. My mind is blown, enriches my life's journey, and the most beautiful and peaceful experience. We did it. We brought some new channeled information out into the world. It is born. We are very excited, and you will be seeing pieces of this in some upcoming workshops. As I was telling one of our guests tonight before we started the recording, that in doing the Illumination Reiki class, the first series, we did an exercise on Sunday that felt like we could have spent a lot more time on. And so I'm going to be developing ways in which we can work up to that with our apprentice program, with our workshops that we'll have coming up in the end of March. If you want, let's talk. You can work with me. Go to secondnaturehealing.com. work-with-me.html. And I would love to hear more about your journey. Where will your path lead you? This is what's really fun for me is talking to you and having you reveal to me what's going on in your life and how is this healing energy, how is this path revealing itself to you. And I'm honored to be a part of that. I'm honored to be here and share with you the healer's journey and hope that we can continue it with weekly webinars. The best way to reach me is through my website, secondnaturehealing.com, and you can also visit now illuminationreiki.com. We set up an email address for it today, reiki@illuminationreiki.com, if you want to check that out. And you can always email me personally, rosemary@secondnaturehealing.com. For anybody who is watching this webinar on YouTube or on my blog, if you want to be given a link directly to your inbox, then you would need to go to the Healer's Journey webinar and join that list. That's on secondnaturehealing.com/webinar is where you would register for that. And thank you. Thank you so much for being here tonight. I am going to turn off this recording and we'll have some time for those of you who are still here on the line. That's one of the advantages to being here live online is we get to chat for a while. You get to ask some questions. So I'll let you go and have a good night.